All right, this is our Spirit Teaching Sunday. And before we get into that, there's one last thing I want to mention to you from Allan Kardec. What his spirit teacher told him, which is relevant. Let the questions you address to us be clear and precise. We've talked about this. Oh, and do not hesitate to multiply. In other words, ask questions. So with that in mind, did someone bring a question?
No, but with the last one, there was a suggestion, I don't know if you or Sandy made it, about getting the next spirit teacher's opinion on what, I'm just going to call him the mathematician, because that's how his presentation reminded me of, that real dry, black and white.
It's fine. What was the question?
It's whatever we talked about. Let's see, what are some of the things he talked about? He's talking about euthanasia.
Yes. Be a little more specific this time, if you don't mind.
I think he said that euthanasia is just another word for murder, and a lot of us took exception to that because there's so many nuances with the euthanasia.
But murder was the correct term, because that is how it is viewed from a religious perspective, which is, again, why the question should be clear and precise. When we speak of death, our culture does not teach death. Your culture teaches the falsehood of immortality, that you will live forever, which is not the case, because immortality implies no change. And without change, there is only the true death, because you do not move forward, you do not move backward. Now, regarding suicide, which is the euthanasia that you are truly inquiring about, am I correct in that assumption?
Yes.
Yes, suicide. There are a variety of ways for suicide to occur. The one that you should be most aware of is the fallacy of the body. What is perfection? Anybody? What is perfection?
I really don't know, because I haven't experienced anything that's perfect.
And why is that?
Because nothing is perfect.
Exactly. Nothing is perfect. Yet, what is it that you are told to seek? Perfection. And true perfection, as the alchemist would put it, is the process of change, evolution, the process of growth. Therefore, the body is not perfect. It is in a continual sense of development. And in some of those developments, there are flaws. This one has a colloquialism that they like to use, which is what beautifies the garden? The weed. And what is the weed? Nothing but an imperfection to the garden. Therefore, the suicide you are most concerned about are those that are of a natural occurrence. And if you might recall, your teacher told you that that passage has already been booked for them. Their entire existence is a struggle to overcome something that they could never overcome. Where is the value in that? Anyone?
So what you're saying is to accept your physical being the way it was given to you and put your energy toward more spiritual things. Is that what you're saying?
No, that is not what I am saying. Let me try and rephrase this in a way that you may understand. You are in a river, and the water is flowing by you, and then all of a sudden it is rushing at you, and yet you remain in the river. You remain in the river, and you struggle against the onslaught of water that is rushing at you. What do you learn from that onslaught of water as you resist it?
That you're wasting your energy.
Are you wasting your energy? What else might you learn? There is no correct or incorrect response. So feel free to add your thoughts to it.
I'll tell you from a couple of personal experiences with me, and it's related to the ocean and the waves coming in. If there's a big wave coming at you, instead of being caught in it, all you do is duck down. You duck down underneath and you pop up on the other side, and there is no effort. Well, there's very little effort. And you are not harmed. And the same with being caught in a rip current. If you struggle against it,
If you just go with it.
you go with it and angle toward the shore. You flow with it, angle toward the shore. It'll burp you out eventually. Struggling against it is it's a waste of energy. It's going to get you into more trouble.
Yes. So their struggle with a body that is flawed teaches them. What does it teach them? I do not know. I did not have that experience. But everything that happens, everything that occurs in your life teaches you. Of course, do not obsess over the lessons like most of you do, with this opinion that life is a lesson to be learned. Life is not a lesson to be learned. Life is something to be enjoyed. One of the things that such people learn is that while they are struggling with this body that is flawed, they find pockets of joy. And joy is a powerful teacher. Of course, some of you would think that struggle is a powerful teacher. But essentially you will discover that struggling is exactly what you have said, a waste of energy. Unless you learn something from it. What do you learn from joy? Do you learn anything from joy?
Life is much easier to take during those moments of joy.
Yeah.
Love.
Love. What is love?
Everything. You learn how to make people happy, how to make yourself happy, what makes you happy.
What makes you happy? Is happiness a choice?
Heck yeah.
Yes.
How so?
Because there are two ways of looking at things.
Keep
Yes.
going.
You can see after a difficult time, and you're on the other side of it, you can see that there is something the opposite of struggle. You can see, we all have, like you said, with the tide, an ebb and a flow, and that you have to have one to see the other. For instance, if we were happy all the time, we wouldn't appreciate it. It would be like living on ice cream sundaes all life. You would crave a good, wholesome meal. Is that what you're getting at?
It's not about what I am getting at. It's what you understand. Each of you is at a different level of understanding. And I cannot impose my understanding upon you because you would not understand what it is that I am imposing. However, I can lead you to the information and you can interpret it as best you can that fits your needs. That is all a teacher can do. One does demonstrate the other. So, what is it we learn from struggle? It wastes energy. Therefore, if you are struggling and wasting energy, what is the best recourse for you?
Accept things you can't change.
Acceptance. Acceptance is the best recourse because acceptance brings what?
Peace.
Peace. So those who have a flawed body, which would cause them to enter the passage, they have reached a point of peace. They have discovered that not all teachings are correct for them. What happens when someone commits suicide, when they take their life? What is the general response?
Pain from those who love them.
Hate.
Explain.
I believe that people do not like seeing weakness in other people because it's a reflection on themselves. And like suicide, some people, that makes them very angry. They don't have empathy. They just criticize.
Did you hear what she said? Could someone explain it, please?
The person is the one who commits suicide. Others blame them.
Yes.
They say, what a selfish act. How selfish of that person to do that to their loved ones. So there is not empathy. There is not. I don't think I've known anyone who's committed suicide. It's like, that's just so sad. I mean, oh my God, that's just so sad. I feel sadness for them. I feel sadness for their loved ones.
You were correct in your response. I wanted to see if the others understood you. So, when someone achieves peace in their life, what might the response be of others?
Jealous.
And why would they be jealous?
Because they don't have the peace. They don't have peace. So
Why do they not have peace?
that's a whole other, that's a whole other thing. Lots of reasons, I'm sure.
And those reasons are relevant to whom?
To that person. To the person who doesn't have the peace.
To that person. And what is it that humankind is so good at, that excels at?
Judgment.
Yes, passing judgment upon others for actions they do not understand. It is not that they are angry with the person who chose to leave. They are angry at themselves because they could not achieve what they achieved. Now that is only one type of passage. There are also those who embark upon their passage because they have been pushed away? What is it that you do when you no longer feel welcome?
You leave.
You leave. And why do you leave?
Because we are communal beings. We are
Yes.
social beings. And if you're not wanted by the pack, you search for community elsewhere.
Yes. And whose fault would it be? I'm sorry. I've been told I worded that incorrectly. Therefore, why would you feel unwelcome?
It could be many reasons.
Criticism, exclusion
Criticism from whom?
from the pack or the others that make you feel not welcome.
Excluded by whom?
By those around you.
Peers, loved ones.
Yep.
People around you.
And what do you do when you no longer feel welcome?
You leave.
You leave.
Leave.
And where do you go? Someplace where you do feel welcome.
Yes.
That accounts for those who choose to embark upon their passage. They feel that they are going someplace that is better than where they are at.
Yes.
How does this sit with you?
Makes sense.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Are there any questions? Does this answer your initial question in a more
Yes.
hospitable fashion?
Yes.
Yes.
It is more hospitable.
As to where or what path you would like to embark upon, there are different ways of doing this. You may embark upon a path that is so familiar that it is utterly useless. You may embark upon a path that is so difficult, it is ridiculous. Thus, you select a path that is not only familiar, but unfamiliar. That is how you build confidence within yourself. Whereas is perfection? The edge of no. See, this is what happens when you get too many minds in a body. They start chattering back and forth. One interrupts to make a point, and the other one says, well, yeah, that sounds good. What did you say? Again. Where lies harmony? At the edge of what is familiar and what is not familiar. Where is the true growth? It is not in struggling, but it is what is familiar and what is unfamiliar. When you overtax yourself, when you overtax your mind, you overtax the body. When you overtax the body, you overtax the mind. There is a reason why the middle path is always the best path. However, you must guard against the culture of your nation. Your nation would have you choose the most difficult path, having you believe that that is the path that will teach you the most. And the only thing that path will teach you is to walk away. Thus, you opt for something that is both familiar and not familiar. That is the path to success. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yes. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Do you feel the balance of the familiar and the unfamiliar, and then you said that culture teaches us to go to the hardest, most difficult path. Do you think that we as spiritual individuals have an instinct about what that path for us should be?
No.
That we kind of tend to gravitate toward where we should go at this point, at this juncture of our lives?
Most people, whether they are spiritual or not, will gravitate to what is familiar and what is easiest. That is human nature. All teachings tell you to step away from that. Why do you think Jesus said to leave your mother and your father and follow me? If you become too comfortable, what are you going to learn?
Very little.
Very little. Your greatest guide is curiosity. Do you know why curiosity is your greatest guide?
It helps you keep learning.
Why does it help you keep learning? What is the purpose of curiosity?
To discover the unknown. No?
No.
Oh, shoot.
To lead you out of complacency.
No.
Oh, you got it too.
To question.
To question. Curiosity causes you to question. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Without questions, what happens? you begin to believe that you know everything. It is only by asking questions that you discover you know very little. Is there anything wrong with knowing very little?
Yes.
What?
You think you have the answers, or that you know everything you need to know about a subject, when indeed you don't. And so you misunderstand.
Knowing very little compared to everything tells you that there's more for you to learn. It is only when you become satisfied with very little that you do as she described. Does that make sense for you?
Yes.
I was not criticizing. I was merely expounding upon your example. I do not mean to offend.
Oh, none taken.
More news, but
One last question. And please ask aloud so that everyone will know what is being responded to.
What happens when one commits suicide when they cross over?
Could you be more precise?
What do they experience when they cross over?
The same thing that everyone else experiences when they embark upon their passage. You are confusing the opinions of those who are still alive, who gaze upon them from a selfish standpoint, as opposed to those who have found peace. In both instances, whether it is the flawed body or they have decided that they are no longer welcome, therefore it is time to move on. I believe the real question would be, are they punished for embarking upon their passage too soon?
Yeah.
Do you know when you are going to embark upon your passage? Anyone?
no.
No,
Then how do you know that when they decided to embark upon their passage, it was not their time?
True, yeah.
It is good to compare yourself with others, but it is not good to read your beliefs into theirs. How many religious practices prepare you for your passage?
None that I grew up with. Yeah.
no. I think generally you're taught to fear it, to be very afraid of it.
Yes. I agree with that.
The Hindus and all that came, well, no, I should not say that. The Hindus and all of the philosophy philosophies that came from that prepare you for your journey. Any belief that preaches or teaches rather punishment preys on the fear that punishment implies. There is only one who can punish you when you embark upon your passage, and the only one that can do that is who?
Yourself.
You.
Yourself. Who committed all of those acts? Yourself. It wasn't the neighbor. It wasn't the parents. Those just happen to be people you blame. And during your passage, these fallacies are brought to your attention, providing you with the opportunity to correct it, because you cannot disembark upon your passage until you have prepared yourself to disembark. When you go on a trip, before you can rest at your destination, what must you do?
Not so properly.
Pack and buy a ticket.
That's when you begin. When you get to your destination, what is left?
To unpack.
Unpack. Precisely. Precisely. Do you think just anyone will let you into their circle, to their group, to their home? Can you just walk up to any of these houses and stroll in?
No.
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 What must you do?
Knock on the door.
Knock on the door. And when you knock on the door and someone answers, what do you do?
Hello.
Hello. And you engage them in conversation. And then they invite you in. You want to get to what you call the spirit realm? You have to prepare yourself. That is what the passage is for. Because when you enter the spirit realm, you are prepared. You are invited in. Now, before you start thinking of something else, let us say that you fall down in front of a house. What might a good innkeeper do?
Come out and pick you up.
Come out and pick you up. Offer assistance. It is what the spirit realm does during your passage. They offer assistance. Do they wait for you to ask for assistance?
I don't think so. I hope not.
That would be a good question, because on this reality you are taught that unless you ask, nobody will help you. Do you know why nobody will help you unless you ask? Because they are fearful. There are two ways to make someone fearful of you. The first is experience. The second is teaching. Why do you teach your children not to talk to strangers?
Fear.
It can be dangerous.
Fear. And yes, it can be dangerous. But fear. These cultures upon this globe peddle in fear. And it is up to you to understand it, to reshape it into something that is beautiful. And do you know why? Because you have that choice. And now it is time for me to say farewell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are very welcome.
Thank you.